Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world where if you win, you get demoted somehow. But if you lose a game, you're ranked ahead of that team that's unranked. Make it make sense. And that's what we're going to rant about today because it kind of got on my nerves. And boy, did it on Sunday. We're going to talk about the AP polls. We're going to react to it, discuss it, because I have a lot to get on my chest about that. We talked about it a little bit a few weeks back, but I was just trying to hold my tongue. I can't anymore, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about some upsets that happened because, boy, was Week 6 a doozy. And we're going to recap the top games for Pigskin Frenzy on Week 6, have our Week 6 recap before we kick it off on Thursday with Week 7. Can't wait for that. We're ready to rock and roll. Welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I am Joel Norris. Whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Podbean, Spotify, Apple, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch and listen to some college football coverage presented by me. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple. All you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram is at Pigskin_Frenzy. You're going to get a lot of crazy takes for college football. You're going to get my thoughts on the game itself. You're also going to get a lot of stuff and more for Pigskin Frenzy on those channels, X and Instagram, at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow like the pages there. You're going to get at the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com, for all things Pigskin Frenzy. On that website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Guys, Pigskin Frenzy's ready to rock and roll. Beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Week 6, like I said, was a doozy. We're going to recap the games here in a little bit. Talk about the AP poll because it was a doozy. Apologies about this past Thursday. Due to time constraints, could not break down a lot of these games, and I really wanted to. So apologies to everybody who was listening out there, but we're going to break down a lot of these games today and recap a lot of these games. So without any further ado, let's kick off our Week 6 recap with the games that I got wrong. Iowa State at Cincinnati. I picked Iowa State to win this ball game. I would have said on Thursday, and I didn't get the chance to, was Cincinnati was going to play Iowa State really close. And I did think that was going to happen because Iowa State was struggling a little bit. But I picked Iowa State anyway. Got it wrong. Final score of this game was Cincinnati 38, Iowa State 30. Cincinnati 38, Iowa State 30. Let's talk about Cincinnati. Cincinnati has entered the chat. At least I think so. Now, am I think they're going to be the driver's seat or anything like that? No. I mean, I think the two teams in the Big 12 that are in the driver's seat right now are BYU and Texas Tech. Now, Iowa State's still in the conversation. Don't get me wrong. They're 5-1. Iowa State is my conference standing projections Big 12 champion back from June, and they were. Now, the way they were struggling a little bit throughout, as the weeks went on, was making me think they were going to drop a game. Now, who? Don't know, but we got our answer, and it was Cincinnati. Cincinnati has been playing kind of tough the past few weeks. They played Nebraska close. They've been playing a lot of teams close. They beat Kansas, a really good Kansas team, as a matter of fact, in a close game not this past weekend, but the weekend prior to this past weekend. And they really were playing hard throughout the month of September. So it was only a matter of time before Iowa State slipped up, and they did slip up against a really good Cincinnati team. Let's talk about the positive circle moments for Cincinnati. Let's talk about Brendan Sorsby. Brendan Sorsby, 13 for 25, 214 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But he did good, but let's also talk about, and not only that, he also had a touchdown, 64 yards, and 9 carries. But let's talk about Evan Pryor. Evan Pryor, 111 yards, 10 carries, 11.1 yards per rush on average, and 2 touchdowns. Evan Pryor, they could not stop Pryor. The Cyclone defense did not have an answer for Pryor in the ground game, and Cincinnati ran the ball hard. They looked really good on the ground, and I think that was the best positive circle moment as we get the black and orange pin out for Halloween, because it's October. It's the second episode of October for Pigskin Frenzy. You hear the click into the pin. It's time. We positive circle momented Cincinnati's ground game because it's the truth. They ran the ball really hard against that Cyclone defense, and they had a hard time stopping their rushing attack. Prior, 111 yards, big positive momentum there. Their defense played well as well, and they looked really good there. Now, positive circle moment, 474 total yards compared to Iowa State's 465. They also did really well yards per play, 8 yards per play compared to Iowa State's 5.4 yards per play. And the rushing attack, 260 yards rushing compared to Iowa State's 151. Of course, that's going to be a positive circle moment. They looked really good running the football. Here are the negative circle moments. 13 penalties for 128 yards. You're lucky you won that in a way because Iowa State was on the verge of coming back, yes, in the second half, but 13 penalties for 128 yards. Now, granted, a lot of those penalties were probably not on Cincinnati, and there were some bad calls in that game. Yeah, true, but I will say that Cincinnati did commit a lot of those penalties. They got to be better disciplined down the stretch, especially against a team like a Texas Tech, especially against a team like a BYU. They have UCF coming up Saturday, which is going to be a tough game. They do have Utah. They do have BYU on November 22nd. So games like that, they're going to have to be better disciplined. So to me, that's a negative circle moment for Cincinnati. Overall, they looked really good on offense. Defensively, they got to clean some stuff up, but they got the win. And that's what matters. Down the stretch, Cincinnati looked good and got the win. So, I mean, there's nothing really else you could say. Cincinnati has entered the chat in the Big 12 title race. They're fourth in the Big 12 currently. Will they win out and go to Dallas? Who knows? We've seen crazier things. I'm just sitting there and saying that now. We've seen crazier things. After they beat the then number 14 team, they're still unranked. How? I don't know, but we're going to talk about that at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that one. But Cincinnati wins this game 38-30. Will they beat UCF? I think they're favored. We'll see. It's a noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central game again. UCF at Cincinnati. I think that's going to be one of the most underrated games of the weekend, honestly. I will say that. UCF is, they are 3-2. They did lose to Kansas, but I still think it's going to be an underrated game between UCF and Cincinnati. Very underrated game. So stay tuned to that one on Saturday. Before we move on, let's talk about Iowa State a little bit before we go to the other game that I got wrong for this past weekend. Iowa State, now, defensively, has to work some things out. Did they try to come back? They sure did. I felt like they started off slow. They had a little bit of a rough stretch against Arkansas State, and they kind of showed some signs of, they're going to drop a game, right? You're going to think when you look kind of iffy in games, and you start winning and you win, but it starts to look a little bit worse and worse as you win. To me, it's only a matter of time before you lose a game. I mean, I said that last season. It happens every year in college football where you look good at first, and then you win, but then you start, you look a little bit rough in some areas. You look a little bit worse each week as the weeks go on, and then you finally lose a game. It happens every year, and Iowa State had that happen. Arkansas State, they kind of looked rough against Arkansas State. It was like, okay. They looked a little bit rough in some areas against Arizona, but they still beat Arizona. And then finally, it was a matter of time. A lot of people were favoring Cincinnati in this spot anyway, going on the road, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. kick. And Iowa State took a loss there, and they ate a loss. Now, we're going to talk about Iowa State at the end overall in a broader sense, but let's talk about the positive circle moments. They put up 465 total yards. I think that's a really good positive circle moment for the team. Rocco Beck played hard, 30-48, 314 yards, 2 touchdowns. Amu Sama the third, 18 carries, 96 yards, 5.3 yards per play. Rocco Beck had 2. He had 4 total touchdowns overall. He had 17 yards, 12 carries, and 2 touchdowns. Rocco Beck did on the ground. So on the ground as a mobile quarterback, Rocco Beck was doing it. Now you got to get better at running the ball more with your running backs. I still think, like I said, use Amu Sama. I don't know what happened to Carson Hansen, but use Carson Hansen a little bit more as well. You had 151 yards rushing. It wasn't bad, but could have been better. 5.4 yards per play. Could have been a little bit better. 4 for 17 was a negative circle moment on third down. I would consider that a negative circle moment for the team. Was 4 for 17 on third down. You could have been a lot better on third down. Got to clean that up and got to pick that up. But, I mean, overall, time of possession, positive circle moment. 34 minutes and 56 seconds. That could have won you a game. And you were playing clean football. I mean, in terms of penalty, in terms of turnovers, I mean, 0 turnovers on both ends. Interceptions, no fumbles, 0 on both ends. So good for Iowa State. Clean up the penalties, 8 penalties for 60 yards. Could have been a lot, a little bit more disciplined, but overall, played it was better than expected. Let me put it that way. They came back in the second half and they showed fight, and that's what I like about Matt Campbell's team. They showed a lot of fight, so that's a positive circle moment as well. Overall in this game, Iowa State, to me, could not stop Cincinnati, and I think that was the problem. Now, Iowa State throughout their schedule, they have Colorado coming up on Saturday, and Colorado, they did look good at first against TCU. Now, TCU ended up winning the game, but at first they competed with TCU and showed some fight. So, I mean, Colorado's 2-4. Colorado lost by 14 against TCU Saturday, but hold up. Maybe at first, if Iowa State doesn't come prepared, Colorado can get them. So let's come prepared if you're the Cyclones on Saturday. Now, a lot of people are going to think, are you dumb for saying it? Or what's wrong with you saying that? I mean, I think that Iowa State is a team that needs to come prepared, especially Saturday. Don't get lost in the sauce, and you'll be fine. They got Colorado bye week, and then they have the showdown on October 25th against a really good BYU team. And BYU team is very stingy. They had a lot of areas where okay, they could lose, right? And they did, and they showed a lot of you're right, against West Virginia this past Friday, but BYU came out on top and won. So we'll see about that. They got BYU in a couple of weeks. So Saturday, bye week, BYU. Then Iowa State has to play Arizona State, which is going to be tough on November 1st. Then they got to play TCU on November 8th, another tough game. Kansas after a bye week on November 22nd, and then they got to play Oklahoma State. So tough stretch coming up for Iowa State. This is going to prove to Iowa State, do they belong in Arlington? Do they belong in Arlington? And that's what we're going to figure out here within the next few weeks with Iowa State. Final score of this game was 38-30. Cincinnati defeated Iowa State. Iowa State needs to come to play. Cincinnati does need to come to play. But can they ride out that momentum against that win? We'll find out. But Cincinnati beats Iowa State 38-30. Got that one wrong. Wish I would have broke it down, but I broke it down just a minute ago. So all is forgiven in the world of college football media and Pigskin Frenzy. Let's move on. Let's talk about Mississippi State at Texas A&M. I made the bold decision to pick Mississippi State over Texas A&M in an upset. Boy, was I wrong. Texas A&M ends up not only beating State, but destroying them. 31-9 was the final score. Texas A&M 31, Mississippi State 9. I said on Bedtime College Football Talk on X to trust the process if you're Mississippi State, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Texas A&M, the number 5th ranked team going into Week 7. They're 5-0 after beating Mississippi State in their blackout game, night game in Kyle Field. Here's the thing with Texas A&M. Let's look at their positive circle moments because there's a lot of positive circle moments. I do think that there is some negatives, but we're going to talk about that. Well, let's talk about positive circle moments. To me, how about Marcel Reed? Marcel Reed had 13 for 23, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He had a running touchdown also, so 3 total touchdowns. He had 30 yards on the ground, 6 carries as well. He looked good, but I think the running game was the thing there. And I think Mario Craver got involved as a receiver. Mario Craver had 80 yards, 6 receptions. Casey Concepcion had 2 touchdowns receptions, 61 yards, 4 receptions. But let's talk about the running game because that looked good as well. Mario Craver had a 35-yard rushing yards, 2 carries, and 1 touchdown. Let's talk about Le'Veon Moss. He had 11 carries 11 carries, 36 yards, but Reuben Owens was the primary factor against Mississippi State's rushing defense. 142 yards, 6.8 yards per average on rush, and 21 carries. Ridiculous. Reuben Owens had a career game against Mississippi State's defense, and he looked good running the football. Overall, A&M looked good running the football. They have deep running back room, probably one of, if not the best offensive line in the SEC, along with Alabama's, in my opinion. I think that the receiver room is loaded with Super Mario Crater and KC Concepcion. I think that Marcel Reed is finding his stride, and the offense is going for A&M. So, positive circle moment all around is their rushing attack and their offense. I think 479 total yards is a positive circle moment. Passing yards, 180 compared to their 142. Here's the positive circle moment. Circling it right now. 299 rushing yards, 1 yard shy of 300 rushing yards total of the game. I have my black pen, by the way, black and orange pen, because it's almost Halloween, and it's the colors of Pigskin Frenzy, so it's almost Halloween. I'll have it throughout the whole month of October. So I just was letting you guys know as I'm circling my stuff here. 6.2 yards per play. Another positive circle moment. They look good on that front. 23 first downs, 7 for 15 on third down. Great on third down, solid on third down. 77 total plays. They look good, and those are the positive circle moments. Offensively, I still think they have holes on defense. And now you're going to think, what? What are you talking about? State couldn't do that much offensively. They did. They did move the ball a little bit better than advertised in some of the plays, I believe. I also think time of possession was good, 38 minutes and 17 seconds compared to Mississippi State's 21 minutes and 43 seconds time of possession, so that's a positive circle moment. But I think the defense is a lot left to be desired for Texas A&M. What do you mean? I think that there's still some holes defensively that Mike Elko and the Texas A&M Aggies need to fix. I really do. I think that defensively, Texas A&M needs to get it figured out on that side of the ball. I think defensively, there is a lot of holes where other teams besides State can exploit it. They got Florida this weekend, coming off of a big win against the Texas Longhorns this past weekend, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit because we talked about that on the Bedtime College Football Talk briefly. I think I wouldn't, and this is my honest thoughts, they have Florida at home in a 7 Eastern, 6 p.m. Central kick game. I would not sleep on a Florida offense coming off of the heels of a good win. And not only that, defensively, I would prepare and show up for anything that Napier has or anything that DJ Lagway has. Not just on Saturday, throughout the whole stretch. Arkansas, LSU, Missouri, South Carolina, and then after Samford, they play Texas. So that's the remaining of their schedule. Defensively, they got to get it figured out a little bit. Not only that, they have to play better disciplined football. I mean, 9 penalties for 66 yards, that's not the best. That's a negative circle moment. So those are the only two negatives I can think of right now. Other than that, if they get it figured out defensively, played better disciplined football, they have a shot at not only going to Atlanta, but going to the playoffs. So I'm just being real. A&M's a team that I would watch out for consistently. So watch out for Texas A&M. They look good. They're keeping on winning. They just have to get it figured out on those areas of the football. A&M this Saturday has Florida. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central kick on ESPN. You're not going to want to miss that game, I guess. That's a good trap game for A&M, so watch out. And A&M needs to come to play Saturday. 31-9 was the final score. Let's talk about Mississippi State. I said trust the process, and I still believe that State can find a way to trap a game and win an SEC game. I believe that. They played good against Tennessee. At first, they played good against A&M, and A&M just ran away with it. I think State has a shot. Are you crazy? Maybe. Just maybe I'm crazy. But am I being smart? Because State is a lot better this year than they were last year. The remaining schedule they have is at Florida, at home against Texas. They play at Arkansas. They play at home against Georgia. Then they play at Missouri, tough. Then, as my voice cracks, then they have the Egg Bowl at home in a Black Friday, noon Eastern Central kickoff. And those are the remaining games. Now, you can think Arkansas. You may can think Florida after their bye week. Maybe Texas, right? You may think that, right? Maybe even Ole Miss, because Ole Miss is a rivalry. Who knows? But I think they can trip up one of the teams. I really do. Just don't know. I don't know who. Not yet. I don't know who yet. I can place my finger on it when I can think about it, but maybe State can pull off an upset and win at least one SEC game. Maybe. With that being said, they do have work to do. Let's talk about their performance. 142 yards, a touchdown, 15 for 20 for Blake Shapen. Not bad, but not good enough to win ball games. You need to be a little bit better in the league in games to, win the games, right? Bothwell had 60 yards, 14 carries. Not going to cut it overall when it comes to running the ball. Brennan Thompson, a touchdown, 54 yards, 2 receptions, 27 yards per reception, which is solid. Those are some positive circle moments from players, but you got to get a lot better if you're Mississippi State. Look, positive circle moment for me, 219 total yards, 142 passing yards. Also, if you want to look at the positive circle moments, they only had 3 penalties and for 35 yards. So they played a lot better in discipline, and they were better disciplined in this game. So those are some positive circle moments. But if you want to look at the 2 turnovers, that's a negative circle moment there. Marking it down. Negative circle moment there. 21 minutes, 43 seconds in the time of possession. Right? And then 1 for 10 on third down. I mean, you're not going to win many ball games. 1 for 10 on third down, 8 punts, 77 rushing yards, 4.3 yards per play. Yeah, you're not going to score much. So you got to move the ball a little bit better. But again, we trust the process on Mississippi State. I have a lot of friends in Mississippi, right? They're State people. And they still believe. And guess what? I would too. They're 4-2. They're 4-2. They just need 2 more wins. And guess where they're going? They're going bowling. No one said that State was going to make the playoffs. I didn't say that. But they have a shot at going bowling. Let's just see. Their next game is against Florida as well. So they have a bye week, and then they play Florida next Saturday. So this week bye, next week against Florida in the Swamp. Kind of tough because it's back-to-back road games. At Florida, 4:15 Eastern, 3:15 Central kick. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens. Are we going to see an inspired effort from State on the road? Who knows? Let's see. But in my thoughts and my honest thoughts, I think State's going to give everybody a game. At least at first. Either A, they're going to give them a game the whole way, or B, they're going to give them a game for one half and then they'll run away with it. Who knows? Maybe they'll give them a game and actually outright beat somebody. Who knows? But I think they're going to trip up somebody. I really do. I'm going to keep saying it. I think they will win an SEC game. Just don't know where yet. Don't know which spot. Could be next week. Could be in the Egg Bowl. Who knows? I think they will win one. I can't put my finger on it yet. Final score of this game was 31-9. A&M rock and rolls. They play Florida Saturday, 7 Eastern, 6 Central kick. State in Florida play next week as State is on a bye this week. Got that one wrong, but who knows? We'll see what happens. Let's go to the games that I got right, though, and we're going to talk about it. Alabama and Vanderbilt. I picked Alabama to win this game because I think Alabama is in a much better spot now after losing to Florida State. They have elevated themselves. And guess what? This guy was right because I think they have, and they're playing a lot better college football, and they're playing a lot better football overall. Final score of this game was Alabama 30, Vanderbilt 14. A lot of people are going to say this game wasn't close. I beg to differ. I think this game was close up until the fourth. Joel, you got to quit defending Vanderbilt. I got a message about that the other day on X, or I think it was on X, and I think maybe on Instagram as well, about me defending Vanderbilt. You got to quit, defending Vandy. They just got beat. You got to admit it. I did. I picked Bama to win the game. I thought Alabama was going to find a way to win this ball game. But guess what? It was still competitive up until the fourth quarter, and it was. I think Bama ran away with it in the fourth, which was a likely outcome. And it was. Let's talk about Bama before we get back on the Vandy subject there. Alabama looks good. Looks good both ways. And Ty Simpson, and I said this on X, to me, is playing like the best quarterback in college football. Consistently. Now, there is what about John Mateer? Yeah, but he's hurt right now. What about Fernando Mendoza? Yeah, he looks good, but at the same time, he's had some struggles like against Iowa, right? What about Julian Sayin? He looks good. He does. But there are some moments where he could be better. What about Pavia? Pavia looked good up until the Alabama game. He played okay, but not good enough. There were some turnovers and some struggles with Pavia. Man, you're going to sit here and discount Carson Beck? Carson Beck's pretty close. I think Carson Beck's up there. Baron Morton, guys like Baron Morton from Texas Tech, yeah, they look good. Ty Simpson is playing consistently at a better level to me and winning those games and getting better and better and better as the weeks go on than anybody in the country of college football. Ty Simpson, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, 23 for 31. He only had 1 pick, which, by the way, was his first interception and Alabama's first turnover overall during the season. And we're going into week 7. That's pretty good at taking care of the football. That's a hard team to turn the ball over or try to force some turnovers off of. Jam Miller had 136 yards, 22 carries, a touchdown, 6.2 yards per rush. And then you had Ryan Williams with a touchdown, 98 yards, 6 receptions. Jeremy Bernard, 82 yards, and a touchdown as well. Offense with Ryan Grubb was clicking on all cylinders. They were creating explosive plays against this Vanderbilt defense and that pass defense, which a lot of people said that they were going to. I think that they were going to as well. They're clicking. And they're clicking on all cylinders. We had Caden Proctor, by the way, had a 2-yard rush. And at the running back spot again, Caden Proctor is going to be an H-back or running back in goal line situations, which is scary, honestly, which is scary for teams. And I think there's really nothing you can do about it. It really isn't. There's really nothing you can do about it. But Ryan Grubb is insistent on using that as a weapon in the red zone. And let's see what happens there. So curious to see how that continues to go. He's a weapon, and he's a great offensive lineman as well. So watch out for that if you're playing red zone defense against this tight offense. So, positive circle moments. Where is the negative circle moment when you're looking at this team right now? 486 total yards, boom, positive circle moment. 340 passing yards, boom, positive circle moment. Rushing yards, 146 rushing yards. Could be better on the ground. Could be. Boom. But it's still positive. 7 yards per play compared to their 6.1 yards per play. Boom. Positive circle moment. But guess what? Vandy on paper was still competitive in a way. 26 first downs, 7 for 15 on third down. Boom. Positive circle moment. 2 for 3 on fourth downs. Boom, positive circle moment. 3 penalties for 30 yards. They only threw 1 pick. And here is the thing that tickled me a little bit and how they got the win. 37 minutes, 23 seconds in time of possession compared to their 22 minutes and 37 seconds. They beat them at the very end of the game and ran away with it at the end of the game with the very thing that Vanderbilt did to them last year. Ball control, time of possession, and eating clock. How poetic is that in a revenge game, right? Very poetic. And they did that. Very poetic. 37 minutes, 23 seconds. They just ate away. Tick, 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 tick. And they just ate away at that clock. First down, first down, first down. Just eating away at it. Poetic. If Joel Norris might say so himself. Poetic. The same tactic and the same tool that Vandy did to Alabama last year. Was this the number one game of Frenzy's 2025 season? Most likely not. No. It was last year because it was back and forth up until the very end with high scoring and then the theatrics. It wasn't like that this year. It was just an old-fashioned revenge game for Bama, and they got the win. And they played clean ball while doing it. The only negative circle moment I can think of is really that interception thrown, because that could be game costly if it's late. That's the only thing I could think of. Right now, Alabama looks like a top 5 team in college football. I can explain that at the end of the episode. But I think if you want to talk about top 5 teams in college football, you got to put Alabama up there. The way they look good. They look really good. And that's a team that is a playoff team, if they play like this, and a team that can go to Atlanta at the end of the year. So, take that as you will. All right? Just take that as you will. I'm warning you about Alabama. If they keep playing the way they're playing, they have a date in Como, in Columbia, Missouri against Mizzou. A game that I think will be a barn burner of a game, probably game of the weekend between Alabama and Missouri. And I think those offenses are going to light it up on each other. We're probably going to see a shootout, honestly. And Mizzou has a shot at winning that game at home. They have a shot. But here's the deal. And I wouldn't be surprised if Missouri did. But here's the deal. Alabama on the road doesn't have the best record. But you're on the road, but here's the good factor. Missouri's ranked. And Kalen DeBoer against ranked teams doesn't lose that much. I think only 2 losses, it seems like. So, let's pump the brakes. We're going to do that game on Thursday because that is a Pigskin Frenzy game. Alabama at Missouri, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central. Columbia, going to be rocking. That is Saturday, and that is who Alabama has next. Final score was 30-14 in this game. Alabama's rolling, man, and I would watch out. But they have a test on Saturday, and we're going to wait on Thursday to predict that game. But right now, Alabama is third in the SEC. To me, they look like a top 5 team in college football. Vanderbilt. And a lot of people are going to say, like I said, defending Vanderbilt. You're on Vanderbilt. Why do you keep pumping them up? Because they did not play the game bad until later on. I thought they showed a lot of fight. Mentally, showed a lot of fight. I think the 3 turnovers killed them. The fumble and the 2 interceptions by Diego Pavia killed them. And it really did just kill their momentum. And I think that was the most, like, when it comes to negative circle moment, dots, circles, you name it, circling it up. That is what killed their game, their momentum in that game. It's a game killer, not just a drive killer, a game killer when it comes to those 3 turnovers. And it was. They were 5 for 11 on third down. Not all that bad, but not like fantastic, but it wasn't bad. So that's a positive there. I think 135 yards on the ground, positive. 6.1 yards per play, positive. 198 passing yards, positive. And I think, 333 total yards, positive. Those are some positives. They played them close up until the 4th. They just ran away with it. I think they just got gassed. And I think they got gassed because Bama's offense just kept staying on the field. And here's the ultimate thing that happened in this game for Vanderbilt. They turned the ball over. Bama only turned it over once early in the game, which didn't matter because it was their first drive, Bama's first drive. But Vanderbilt turned the ball over 3 times in crucial moments of the game. And that is what set the game apart from everything else. That and in the time of possession. Vanderbilt's still going to give teams trouble. I wholeheartedly believe that. They have a bye week this week, and then they go back home. It's not decided yet. It's either noon Eastern or 12:45 Eastern, 11 a.m. 45 or whatever Central kick on ABC or SEC Network between LSU. They have LSU next in Nashville after their bye week. So I think they're going to compete with LSU. I think they're going to compete without the rest of their schedule. They will reach a bowl game, no doubt about that. Now, where is their bowl eligible win going to come from? I don't know, because the rest of their schedule is pretty dicey. It's pretty competitive. At home against LSU, at home against Mizzou, and Mizzou's going to be a really good team. At Texas, at home against Auburn, bye week, at home against Kentucky, and then on the road, rivalry weekend at Tennessee and Knoxville. Going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Going to be tough. But I think Vanderbilt's going to compete with everybody because they have the mental capacity and they have the team and the heart and the confidence to do that. They're going to play with an edge. I think that Vanderbilt is still a team to not write off. Am I going to say they're going to make it to Atlanta playoff? Am I saying that at all? But don't write them off in games after this loss. Bama just outmanned them in the end. They're a better football team. That's all it is. That's all it is. Final score of this game was 30-14. Alabama defeated Vanderbilt, 30-14. Bama has Mizzou on Saturday. Vandy has a bye. They play LSU next Saturday. Let's move on and let's go one more and let's talk about Miami at Florida State. Then we'll talk about the upsets and then we'll talk about the AP reactions because why the heck not? Miami at Florida State. I picked Miami to win this game because I liked Miami in this spot. I think Miami had something to prove. A lot of people were picking against Miami. Don't know why. I just thought Miami was the better team, and they were the better team. Final score was Miami 28, Florida State 22. Florida State came back late in the football game, but Miami was all over them the whole game. To me, I think until the very end, the score made it close, yes. On paper, they got close in the end on paper due to the ending part of the game. Yeah, Florida State did. But at first, if Miami would have kept it up, then I think that it would have been on paper and score-wise lopsided. Miami was rolling in this game before Florida State caught up later in the game. And Miami only won by 6. But Florida State's a good team. I'm not saying that. Florida State is a good team. I just think that Miami presented a case on Saturday that either A, they were one of, if not the best team in college football. Personally, I have Miami at number 1 right now. A lot of people are going to say, what's your deal with Ohio State? Now, I think Ohio State's a good football team. We will discuss that here in a little bit. I think Miami presented a case where they were the best team in college football. Let's go over the positive circle moments and the negative circle moments for Miami that they got to clean up. So Carson Beck had 20 for 27, 4 touchdowns, 241 yards. He looked good throwing the football, and he looks like the 2023 Carson Beck right now. Please stand up. Please stand up. And he has stood up. He looks like the 2023 Carson Beck. He is up there in the Heisman odds, and he should be if Miami keeps winning. So Carson Beck, positive circle moment there. Mark Fletcher had 40 yards, 12 carries. He did okay in the running game. I will say that you had, in the receiving game, the 2 best receivers. You had Malachi Toney, the freshman, and C.J. Daniels, the Liberty and LSU transfer. Daniels had 78 yards, 5 receptions, 15.6 yards per reception, and 2 touchdowns. Malachi Toney, electrifying. He's not related to Kadarius Toney, by the way. 7 receptions, 107 yards, 15.3 yards per reception, and 2 touchdowns. Miami receiving, Carson Beck throwing the ball. They look good offensively. And in the trenches, they are tough, man. On the defensive side of the ball, with Ruben Bain, with Akeem Messidor. You had, Jacoby Thomas snagging an interception. Fitzgerald getting an interception. The turnovers are what kill Florida State as well, but I'm just saying that defense looks electric. Miami's defense looks solid. They look physical up front on both sides of the ball, offensive line and defensive line. Shannon Dawson calling great plays. Corey Heatherman calling good plays on the defense. As complimentary football as it gets, Miami, to me, looks like the best team in college football. Now, you can make an argument about Texas Tech because I think Texas Tech looks solid complimentary. I think Texas Tech and Miami would be a heck of a football game. I really do. I think Miami right now looks like the best, and they're playing like it. 5.7 yards per play compared to their 4.9 yards per play. Positive circle moment. I think they need to run the ball a little bit better. Miami does. That's a negative. 97 yards. They need to run the ball better, but not too bad. 241 passing yards compared to Florida State's 272. They had 338 total yards compared to Florida State's 404. They outgained them in a lot of areas, Florida State did, later in the game because of them coming back. But I think overall, 30 minutes compared to their 29 minutes time of possession, if you compare to clean football, 0 turnovers, by the way. That's a positive circle moment there for Miami. Both sides of the ball, playing tough on the trenches, beating him in the trenches, huge positive circle moment. And then it's just playing with an edge. Positive circle moment for Mario Cristobal and Miami. 5-0, they're the number 2 team in the country, and they deserve to be in the top 2 because I think they are. Now, if you want to look at the negatives, 13 penalties for 114. I think that can catch up to them eventually. They have to play better disciplined football. They have to play better disciplined. And I think disciplined football is going to be key for Miami, and they need to clean that up. They need to run the ball a little bit better. Third downs, 5 for 14, they look good. I think they need to run the ball a little bit better. I think that they need to play better disciplined football, and they need to not listen to anybody talk. If somehow Miami comes across this, or if Mario Cristobal comes across this, tune out everything I'm saying, because you don't need to listen to what I'm saying. Kirk Herbstreit said it best on the broadcast Saturday night on ABC. He said, do not listen to the noise. Your opponent, your best opponent that you could face, is right in front of you in the mirror. Beat yourselves by listening to all the talk that is happening. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. Because if Miami keeps playing the way they're playing and not listening to anybody and keeps playing with an edge, who beats them? In the ACC, who beats them? They're going to enter the college football playoff. You know what I mean? So who beats them? I don't know. Miami looks good, man. They look really good. This is the best they've looked in a long time. I will say that. Final score of this game was 28-22. Miami coming up this week has, nobody. Have a bye week. They play Louisville next Friday night, 7 Eastern, 6 Central. Kickoff, they play at home against Louisville. Could be a game. Let's see what happens next Saturday. Here we go with Florida State. Florida State didn't play all that good. I think they did the best that they could in a game against a team that was pretty much, in my opinion, outmanned them in a lot of ways. On paper, they look good as well. And in the second half of the game, and at least later in the game, Florida State brought the energy. They really did. 404 total yards, positive circle moment. 272 positive circle moment. Passing yards, 272 passing yards, positive circle moment. 132 rushing, positive circle moment. 7 for 16 on third down. That was better, I think, than in the first half. It ended up going good for third down, positive circle moment. 3 for 4 on fourth down, positive circle moment. See, there's some positive circle moments coming from this loss. Penalties, they played better discipline. Positive circle moment there. Now, here's the kick. Now, here's the negative circle moment, and here's where the negative comes in. The 3 turnovers were costly. A fumble and 2 interceptions. The 3 turnovers were costly. And I think that it was too late because Miami ran the score up so much going into the fourth. The score was just out of hand, in my opinion, where I think they just ran out of time. If it was a little bit more competitive in the first half, I think Florida State would have had a shot to upset Miami. But I think Florida State let this game get away with them a little bit, and it was just too late to overcome. I think that's the only case that I can think about with this game. Florida State didn't play bad. They just got outmanned, and they just ran out of time. 2 touchdowns, 272 yards, 25 for 45, 2 picks, and a fumble. Castellanos, that was Castellanos' numbers. Ground game, 57 yards, 16 carries for Castellanos. Shawchuk had 47 yards, 11 carries. Pittman, Robinson, they all look good as long as and McCoy looked good as well. Defensively, they looked okay as well. I think they got outmanned in the trenches because Miami looked really good up front. And I think overall, Florida State just got outmanned and ran out of time. Well, there's nothing else you could say. They have to play better when it comes to turning the ball over, and I think they will. Florida State had a bad hand in terms of, the Virginia game and in this game, right? They tackled better and they played better defensively later in this game than in Virginia, at least. I just think that Miami was the better football team and they outmanned them. And Florida State ran out of time. That's really all you got to say about this game. I'm sorry that there's no more better recap than what I got for Florida State on this, but I think Florida State's a good football team. They're number 25. They play Pitt at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central on Saturday. It's not a Pigskin Frenzy game. I can pick it right now. I think Florida State will get some revenge and win the ball game Saturday afternoon. I really do. I think they can beat Pitt and go to 4-2. I think that Florida State's a better team, is a better team, and they will be a good team. I don't think that those 2 losses will define them. I think they can keep on chugging along, and Florida State will find a way to win games. I think they're a better team this year than they are last year for sure. I think Florida State will win against Pitt come Saturday. I just think they just played a better team. And I think they played, in my opinion, the best team in college football right now. So the final score of this game was 28-22. Miami beats Florida State. It proved to me that I think they were the best team in college football this past weekend and in the country right now. Miami next Friday has Louisville. Florida State Saturday has Pitt. That was the official Week 6 recap between all these teams. I think that Miami looks good. Florida State still looks good. They just have to keep on trugging along. Not Pigskin Frenzy games, so we're going to talk about them really quick. What in the heck happened with Penn State and Texas? And we're going to discuss that right now. Let's discuss Penn State really quick. Penn State went into the Rose Bowl this weekend and ended up playing a game. And a lot of people, right? A lot of people had Penn State, obviously, winning that game. Not even close, right? UCLA, new coaching staff, winless on the road, or winless on the season, road and home to be included, 0-4, and it was the Rose Bowl. Nico coming in, Jerry Neuheisel, first game, play caller, all that jazz, and they ended up playing Penn State, a preseason national champion and a preseason Big Ten champion pick as well. Tell me why UCLA won this game. 42-37 was the final score of this game. Jerry Neuheisel admitted, I was having trouble operating the headset before this game. Tell me why UCLA won this game. Talent. Drew Waller, one of the top quarterbacks coming back. Jim Knowles, the highest paid defensive coordinator, one of the highest paid defensive coordinators in college football, one of the best last year. Andy Kolenicki. Staff, on point. James Franklin, all of it on point. Players had help. Katron Allen. Nicholas Singleton. One of the best dynamic backfields in college football, if not the best dynamic duo in running backs in college football. Trevor Allen, Kyron Hudson, or Trevor Pena, Kyron Hudson. Tell me why Penn State lost this football game. 0-4, UCLA. Not playing good at all during the season. Not good at all. Tell me why Penn State lost this football game. I can keep going. I don't know how they lost this football game. The game started with UCLA going up 7-0, and then it ended up being 10-0. I'm like, okay, that's kind of strange, but let's not panic. And then at half, it's 27-7. You're like, okay, what's happening here? And then Penn State starts coming back, and then UCLA scores again in the fourth, and you're like, okay, this is scary. Penn State's about to lose. And then UCLA drops 42 on their defense, and Penn State ends up having 37 points. But Penn State runs out of time, and UCLA wins with first-time play caller Jerry Neuheisel. Congratulations to Jerry Neuheisel, and congratulations to Rick Neuheisel and the Neuheisel family on winning this game. I'm not saying anything bad about that, but Penn State losing to this game, a 1-4. Before that, a winless UCLA team who trailed in every game this season and ends up in this game winning the whole game, like as in leading the whole game. Hadn't led a single game all season and lost every game. And in this game, all of a sudden, UCLA is leading the whole game and wins outright. Penn State shouldn't have lost this game. Yes, they lost to Oregon. Oregon's a better team. Oregon's a good team. Phenomenal team. But you're going to go to the Rose Bowl after a game and have a horrible letdown game against this one? You should come in fired up to play this game after losing to Oregon. A close game to Oregon. Penn State's unranked, and they should be. 3-2. They should be unranked because they played awful Saturday. And they did. They played not good. 19 for 26, 200 passing yards, 2 touchdowns for Drew Aller. Katron Allen had 50 yards, 2 touchdowns, 8 carries, 6.2 yards per rush. Nicholas Singleton had 39 yards, 11 carries. Where was the running game? Where was it? Because you could run all over this team. Why didn't you run the ball? I think overall, when you played Villanova, when you played FIU, Penn State was showing signs of, okay, what was going on with the offense? Why are y'all off to slow starts? This continued in the Rose Bowl Saturday. This continued. Positive circle moment to me for Penn State. Positive circle moment. Because there's a lot more negatives than the positive. But let's go with one positive. 200 passing yards, 6.3 yards per play, I guess. That's really it. They were 4 for 9 on third down, negative. 6 penalties for 43 yards, negative. They had a crucial fumble, negative. And then UCLA beat them in time of possession. Penn State's defense couldn't get off the field. 39 minutes. 39 minutes compared to Penn State's 20 minutes. They beat them in time of possession. They couldn't get off the field. What is going on with Penn State? Because their schedule coming up is a little bit brutal. They're playing a better Michigan State team. They play Iowa next Saturday after their bye. They play Nebraska later on. November 1st, they got to go into the Horseshoe and play Ohio State. What is happening with Penn State? They have to get it figured out and get it figured out fast. This loss was the worst loss that James Franklin has had in a long time. This is a playoff-defining loss. This is a Big 12. This is a Big 10 championship-defining loss. This is one of the worst losses they've had in quite some time, and they have to get it figured out and get it figured out fast. Nico Amaliava played well in this game. UCLA played well in this game. I'm not saying that. I'm giving all the credit to UCLA. They're playing like they have a chip on their shoulder, and they have nothing to lose. But Penn State still has everything to lose. They have everything to lose, and they're losing it. By losing to UCLA, they're losing it. I honestly don't think they're going to make the playoffs after this loss. I honestly don't see them making the Big Ten championship after this loss. And I had them number 2, along with Texas at number 1, which we're going to talk about that game in a little bit. I had them top 2 with them winning the Big Ten championship in June. And now they're 3-2, unranked, heading into a bye week, getting ready to play an Iowa team that could be a trap game for them if they don't come to play. College football, man. That's all you got to say is college football. And that's why projections are just that, ladies and gentlemen. Just projections. Penn State better figure it out and figure it out quick, because the rest of their schedule, it's not automatic wins. If they're going to keep playing like this, it's not automatic wins. I'm just saying. There's no sense in Penn State losing this game. There was no sense in it. Final score was 42-37. Tell me why Penn State lost this game. I want to hear it from you. Tell me why Penn State lost. I'm speechless. That's all I got to say. I am speechless. But the same can be said about Texas, because Florida beat Texas 29-21. Florida beat Texas 29-21. Florida's 2-3. Texas is 3-2. It was in the swamp. Steve Sarkisian made comments yesterday and said, give me 100. There's 136 teams in college football. Give me 135 that could go into the shoe against Ohio State and go into the swamp and try to beat them, both teams. Is his answer valid? Sure, but here's also why his answer isn't valid, because South Florida did it, and they were a group of 5 team. They went into the swamp in Gainesville and beat Florida week 2. So what are we doing here? Play calling has to be better. Arch Manning has to play better. We've already established that. And up front, they have to be better as well. Florida beat them 457 total yards compared to their 351. Total yards passing, 298 compared to their 289. They only ran the ball for 52 rushing yards. 52 rushing yards. That's not good. 159 rushing yards total for Florida. 7 yards per rush compared to Texas's 5.9 yards per play. 7 for 14 on third down. Positive circle moment for Florida. They didn't even have to convert on fourth down. They really didn't. But, 3 for 11 for Texas, not good. 10 penalties for 70 yards for Texas. That's not good. You got to play better disciplined ball. 2 turnovers for Florida and 2 turnovers for Texas. The difference was the penalties and time of possession. Florida, 34 minutes compared to Texas's 25 minutes time of possession. In the trenches, they got to play better. Arch Manning has to play a lot better. They have to call better plays on offense as well, because they're not calling good plays on offense. I said that against Ohio for the Ohio State game. This was their first Power 4 team to play since Ohio State. Their first Power 4 opponent since Ohio State. They won all the other games. They did not win this one and Ohio State. Now, here's the kicker here. They're 3-2. They're unranked. The first team since 2012, since USC of 2012, rather, to be the first preseason ranked number 1 team to be unranked. Okay. So now what do you do with that? Because here's my thing, and here's why I'm not as edgy about Texas as I am about Penn State. Because Penn State has the talent, and the schedule, to me, favors Penn State more, right? But here is why I get a little bit frustrated, or get a little bit lenient towards Texas more than Penn State. Because a rivalry is coming up on Saturday, in the Red River rivalry. Yes, it's a Pigskin Frenzy game, but something is telling me in my heart and in my head that Texas is going to come out and play better Saturday. I don't know what, and I'm not picking the game, not yet. I'm debating it still. I got until Thursday to do that. But in my head and in my heart, something's telling me with John Mateer out, Texas is going to play a lot better in this game than they did against Florida. Could this be a game, the Florida game, where it wakes them up and they go into the Red River rivalry and play Oklahoma with heart and determination, with the talent they have on that team, because Texas has a lot of talent on that football team? Do we expect Texas to play better on Saturday than they have been playing? Could. Let's see. I expect it. So we will see. You're going to think I'm crazy for saying that, but I expect it. Texas is a 3.5-point favorite. Well, Joel, why? They're unranked and they're playing a top 10 Oklahoma team in Dallas on Saturday in week 7. Well, it's college football, and it's rivalries. And we're going to sit and say anything can happen in rivalry, and it can. Everything can happen in rivalry week, in rivalries and in rivalry games. Texas has the talent. I just think they got to utilize it properly, and Steve Sarkisian and Kyle Flood have to call better plays. Let's see. There's a lot that points to Texas in this one. I'm just going to say that, but we're going to break that down with Trey Wallace from Outkick on Saturday. Texas loses. I feel better about Texas over Penn State. Overall, I feel better about Texas, leaning more towards Texas compared to Penn State. Now, do these teams have shots at making the playoffs? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows what the future holds throughout the season for both teams? But I feel better about Texas than Penn State, which is crazy because Penn State has a lot of talent. They're just not playing it. I think they're playing worse than Texas. That's my honest thoughts. Final score for Florida was 29-21. Texas has to play really good against Oklahoma. Let's see it. Let's see it on Saturday. I'm shocked about those losses. I'm not really shocked. Texas, you could have seen that one coming, maybe. Penn State, there's no sense in it. Penn State has to figure out a way to get it better, and they have to play better. Nothing against UCLA, and I'm not trying to disrespect UCLA in any way, but let's be honest, dude. A winless UCLA team, you're projected to win the Big Ten in a lot of people's eyes, to be a national championship contender and a playoff contender in a lot of people's eyes, and you go in, and it looks like it could have been a bounce-back, motivating game where, okay, we could play a lot better than what we did against Oregon. No, we're just going to play down, and who cares? Oh, it's UCLA. And you got beat. And you got gassed on defense. Come on, man. You have to play better than what you're putting out. James Franklin, this is a wake-up call, man. You have to produce better. We love James Franklin on Pigskin Frenzy. We love Penn State on Pigskin Frenzy. You have to play better and perform at a higher level. Otherwise, it's all going to blow up again, and you can say bye to your playoff appearance. You can say bye to the Big Ten title appearance. I think the Big Ten title appearance is out now. An at-large spot, maybe in the playoffs, maybe. Who knows? They just got to win out, and that's going to be tough, very tough. So let's see what happens. Texas will break that game down with Oklahoma. Texas is an interesting one. They could be in a better spot than most people realize coming up, and they could bounce back in a bigger way. Let's see, though. Let's see. Give me time to think on it. I got a couple of days. Last but not least, before we wrap everything up, let's talk about the AP poll really quick because it kind of ticked me off. And we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to wind down and get ready for Thursday in Week 7. My honest thoughts about the AP poll is, okay, you're going to get mad about Penn State and Texas being unranked. No, because they didn't play like top 25 teams. I agree with that, honestly. I think Miami should be ahead of Ohio State, but I can see why people at Ohio State are ranking them at number 1, and then people in the AP poll are ranking Ohio State at number 1, which, okay, sure, that's fine. I think that Ole Miss at 4 I think it's a little bit premature. So maybe, yes. A&M at 5, maybe. Indiana at 7, okay. I think Texas Tech should be ranked ahead of Bama. I think that we're not paying attention enough to undefeated, and okay, Bama has a better wins. Yeah, they have better wins, sure. But Texas Tech's playing complimentary football on both sides of the football, and they're beating people by 25-plus points. So, yeah. I think, what are we doing on that end of the thing? I think that the one that got me, and I made a video about it on X, I think that the Cincinnati one with Iowa State, to me, is the one that I would think, okay, yeah. As I look through the notes, I think if you look at Iowa State and Cincinnati, because let's look at this. Iowa State lost to Cincinnati, right? And this is what I was going to talk about earlier. Iowa State lost to Cincinnati. 5-1. The honorable mention vote is Cincinnati. They're unranked after beating Cincinnati. Or after beating Iowa State. And Iowa State's still 22 ahead of Cincinnati. You want to know what I said about South Florida. South Florida's ranked again. They're 24. Memphis is 23. Florida State's 25. I'm not mad at a lot of it. I'm mad about Iowa State and Cincinnati because I'm going to tell you why. Cincinnati, honorable mention. Yes, unranked. Highest receiving votes. Iowa State's 22. And they lost. So I started the show by saying, okay, it seems like we live in a world where if you win and you beat a ranked team, who Iowa State was the 14th ranked team in college football, you get demoted for some reason. And if you lose to an unranked team, it seems like you are still rewarded by staying ranked. Or being, you still got demoted and you still drop rankings, but you're still ranked. It's still good for Iowa State. And I picked Iowa State to win the Big 12. I said weeks back with South Florida, it was a crime that they're ranked 18th, that the AP poll was whack. Now, look, South Florida, they're 4-1, 6-0. Memphis is the first bowl-eligible team, 6-0 in the American. South Florida is making a run for their money in the American Conference in the Group of 5, trying to get a Group of 5 CFP bid. Sure, South Florida deserves to be ranked still. They're 24. I have no problem with that. My problem a few weeks back was they were winning and had 2 ranked wins already, and they were only 18th. Now, they did lose to Miami. Sure, it aged well. Okay, haha, Joel, funny. Here's the deal. Iowa State being ranked ahead of Cincinnati, that's the crime. And I said that the AP was whack. My words, by the way. You can meme me, you can quote me, whack. Whack is all get out. And it is. It's whack. How can we value rankings? And how can we value what the AP says when stuff like this is happening? Oh, Iowa State, they lost to Cincinnati, but no fear. Iowa State will still be ranked and Cincinnati will be unranked. Even though, Cincinnati, you beat Iowa State. Makes 0 sense. Wouldn't you want Cincinnati to be ranked ahead of Iowa State? And that's their award or reward or awarding them because they beat the number 14 team. But no, they're unranked. Makes 0 sense. I put a video about it on X. I tagged the AP in it. I can tag the AP in this. We have to do better. And I know that the AP rankings aren't going to be the rankings that matter come November 4th because the 2 rankings that matter in my eyes in the November 4th rankings are coming from, hopefully, as I start to build it, a newly generated ranking system with the playoff rankings for Pigskin Frenzy. The Frenzy playoff rankings will be, announcement time, will be generated. And I think I will build my own system with the playoff Frenzy rankings and build my own metrics with it. And then I will generate it through my own system and model and have my teams rated through that starting November 4th. I will have that and try to build that by November 4th. That's what matters to me, and the college football playoff rankings will matter to an extent as well. Those are the 2 things that matter to me. AP is starting to become completely irrelevant now, and it's kind of making me sick when stuff like this is happening. You tried. You know what I mean? No, they didn't just try. They won. And you're going to unrank them? Makes 0 sense. That stuff is a crime against college football, and it's making people in college football sick to their stomachs. Pay attention. That's all I ask. Just pay attention to what you're doing. And it's showing right now that a lot of these people aren't paying attention. That's my thoughts, and that's my tangent, and that's my rant about the AP rankings. Guys, we are out of time. A big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by me. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, all you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram, at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow a lot of the pages there. You're going to get a lot of updates and content from college football and Pigskin Frenzy presented by me. Guys, you have the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Yes, that was the announcement. November 4th, coming up here shortly in a few weeks, 4 weeks, I would assume, 4 weeks. We are going to release and unveil our first ever on Tuesday, November 4th, on the Tuesday, November 4th episode of Pigskin Frenzy, we're going to unveil our Frenzy playoff rankings before the shows start. So Frenzy playoff rankings will be unveiled. I'm going to do a new metric system and do my own system with it and try to generate through my own system that I'm trying to build and work on our playoff rankings and who I think are the 12 best teams in the field. So develop that. And not only that, we have a big show on tap Thursday. So on Thursday, we have none other than Trey Wallace, college football national reporter and college sports national reporter from Outkick.com. He is our Week 7 guest picker. He's going to talk about his career in this. He's going to talk about what he is doing in this as well. And he's also going to talk about his journey, how he got to Outkick, and we're going to talk about who's on Upset Alert Week 7, his ranking reactions for Week 7, as well as the top Pigskin Frenzy games for Week 7, which is the Red River rivalry between Oklahoma and Texas, Ohio State at Illinois, Alabama at Missouri, and Indiana at Oregon are the top 4 Pigskin Frenzy games for Week 7. Cannot wait for Trey Wallace from Outkick.com to come on the show, be our Week 7 guest picker. Big show on tap on Thursday. Guys, we cannot wait for Thursday. And by the way, 5,400 listeners, a big thank you for tuning in each and every Tuesday and Thursday, for just coming in. And without you, we couldn't do this. And not only without you guys for listening, without the Lord and our Lord and Savior Jesus, we could not do this show without him. And we give him all the praise and give him all the glory for delivering us Pigskin Frenzy and bringing us into college football media. Guys, if you want to come to know him, it's the best decision you can ever make in your life. Guys, X and Instagram is at pigskin_frenzy. You have the contact info on the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Contact info down below, name, email, and question about our Lord and Savior Jesus. Without him, we would not be doing this, and we give all praise and all glory to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and our Lord and Savior, our God, because without him, we would not be doing this in college football media. Guys, until Thursday, I'm Joel Norris signing off. We will see you on Thursday with Trey Wallace, Week 7 guest picker from Outkick.com. Guys, we will see you then. Until Thursday, Joel Norris signing off once again. For everybody out there, we're praying for you all, and we love you all. Guys, stay the course.